how can you enter the kingdom of heaven while being alive on earth? So first, you would want to take away the anxiety, right? So living in the present moment, right? It may sound kind of strange or weird, but living in the present moment, the here and now. For example, as I'm making this video, it's 6:44 p.m. on a Tuesday. You got to be very present, right? And so some examples of things you can use to be present that I have learned from others, right? So there's three things that kind of root you to the present moment. The first thing being ease, E-A-S-E. So you should try to find a certain amount of ease no matter what you're doing, right? Then there should be a certain amount of lightness, right? So lightness. And then there should be a certain amount of joy. Now, joy could be many different things from yourself, other people, but you got to be present, right? Now, as humans, we tend to, well, society reinforces it, but we tend to like overly be living in the future, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Tomorrow, when I go to my job, when I go to my school, when I go to work, when I come to, home, always the next thing, but we're never present, right? So we ideally want to spend majority of our time in the present moment and take momentary visits to the future, right? Also, equally devastating could be when we overly identify with the past and we're filled up with regret, like overly identify with things that happened, who we were, this and that, but just be present, like you're a human, try to be present. So that's the first thing. So the second thing is you want to be prepared to go to war, right? So society tends to make us have this belief that going to war is something negative. However, there's many positive benefits to conflict or war, right? So you as an individual, in order to have a peaceful life, in order to have a blissful, loving, just joyful life, you should be willing to go to war as is necessary. If people try to violate your rights, people try to violate your sense of peace, people just try to take things from you. And unfortunately, these people exist, and they exist due to some things in life, society reinforcing it. So they may have bullied somebody and they were successful, or they bullied multiple people and they were successful. They abused multiple people and they were successful. Then you come along and they're going to try to abuse you or bully you. So now, ideally, you should be able to declare war on them, to engage in that conflict in a peaceful manner, or for peace rather, right? So you can kind of see why you need to have a warrior-like disposition in order to keep your peace. And there's a lot of science and strategies you can go about it. One of the best things being learning from other generals, Napoleon, Winston Churchill, Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, things like that, right? Yeah, so the third thing to get to the kingdom of heaven while being alive on earth, the third principle is you want to have a life fulfillment blueprint, right? Which I have and God gave me. So in any event, but God gave me to give to you and other, people who follow me and who listen to me. But so the life fulfillment blueprint, the most important one is social connections, right? And so social connections, having people in your life that you can depend on, very, very important, right? So you want to be spending time to improve those relationships, to gain those relationships, to be good with yourself, right? So that's the first one. However, there's 6 of them. So that's the first and the last one. I'm sorry, that's the last one, but the first one that I mentioned. But the very first one is your relationship with God. Super important, relates to your purpose and all these different things. The second one is cleanliness and organization, because your environment exudes or takes away a certain amount of patience, right? Or energy. So your environment can kind of give you energy or take away your energy. The third one is exercise and smart eating, right? So that actually relates to your energy and getting energy. You want to be exercising, right? At least 30 minutes a day, and you want to be eating or like healthy stuff. The fourth one is self-love, right? Self-love, which is a muscle. You want to do things to show that and reinforce that you love yourself, right? The relationship with yourself, right, affects every other relationship in your life, right? So if you can be very harsh to yourself, very malicious to yourself, it would be very easy to be malicious to others. But if you can be very loving, very patient with yourself, very encouraging, as is backed up by psychology and different things that you learn about the world. For example, it may take somebody like 5 to 7 times of doing something new before they actually get it, right? So you may be teaching somebody to do something and you'd be like, yo, why is this person so stupid? They can't get it. I teach them like 2-3 times already. They still don't get it. They're stupid. But the science says it takes between 5 to 7 repetition to get something from the short-term memory to the long-term memory, which means if you teach the person 7 times and they still don't get it, maybe then on the 8th time you could potentially call them stupid. But before then, definitely not. And the last one that I forgot to mention is wealth. You want to have a certain relationship with money, certain money practices, to work hard, to get money, to budget, to keep your money, to invest, to grow your money. You know, there's this thing in society how we have like a very specialized society. So ideally you want to have like a one thing, something that you're kind of like a mastery of. One of the things that I do that not a lot of people do is I drive a taxi in New York City. It's one of the most expensive cities for taxis in the world. And only like a few thousand, but there's a few million people in New York City and a few thousand of them have the license to drive taxi within the city. So it's kind of like specialized, but not really, because you could get it within 4 weeks, but still they pay me okay. So, but I'm working on getting other specialties, but certainly being a pastor though, is definitely like a specialty with like the 200 books plus that I had to consume to be able to be in this position, you know, to be even to give these things, right? So that's one of my specialty, which is why if you need any counseling, I charge what I charge. So I think it's $5, but it's up to like $65, I believe, or $45 if there's no time that, you know, so it's $5, but if those time slots get filled up, $5 an hour, then it goes up to like 45 to 65 if there's more like a urgent situation or whatever. So in conclusion, definitely you can enter the kingdom of heaven while being alive on earth. So just to recap, the first thing is you want to think with your anxiety, right? So try to be present. The second thing, you want to be ready to go to war if anybody wants to violate your rights or privacy. And just from having the ability, right, to know that you could become a beast or a monster if necessary, but while you go with the disposition as a Christian to love everyone always, is very healthy, very good, very peaceful, right? Because you know you're capable. You're not going to do it. But listen, if whoever wants to come try you, then do it. I'm ready. I'm prepared. But so that's the second one, right? Being ready, willing, and study to like go to war with people or businesses as is necessary. The third one is the life fulfillment blueprint. Very, very detailed, but very powerful stuff, right? Self-love, wealth, your environments being cleaned, eating healthy, your relationship with God, your relationship with money, your relationship with people, and spending time with people, you know, inviting people to lunch and these different things, right? So in conclusion, it's very possible. And I think this is a small glimpse God wants us to have before we actually get to heaven. Of course, when we actually get to actual heaven, we're going to be living forever, right? If we're fortunate enough to be among them, right? So, but in any event, that's this video.